Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this special Wednesday episode of Equine Episode Examination, where today we'll be talking about, not this past week's, but the weekend before that episode, Viva Las Pegasus, since we weren't able to discuss that, obviously, last week. So, welcome to that, and besides that, we're just going to pretty much be doing the same exact thing here. If this is your first time watching us, if you're watching us on a recording, we do record this live every Tuesday, usually, at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So if you want to join in the chat, that's the time to come and join us here on CinemaQuestria.com. Pretty much we're just going to go through the episode and start with some more general discussion, overall discussion, and then work our way to more specific parts of discussion for the episode and just kind of give our thoughts, our initial thoughts, how we felt about the episode, and yeah, just give our overall opinions of everyone here in the call and everyone in chat. I'm Rain Shadow, and I'm here joined by a few people if they want to introduce themselves.
I'm Mr. Ben.
I'm Jay Smith.
And I'm Matt.
Matt is so excited to be here. Are you actually in your bed?
I'm literally under my bed duvets.
Oh boy.
So yeah. I'm on my phone as well, so I'm probably gonna sound like utter shite as well.
Actually, it sounds really good. Actually, it's just as clear as when you use your computer.
Probably proof that my headset's a bit big as well. Then.
No, it sounds really clear. Well, anyway, let's go ahead. This is a discussion of Viva Las Pegasus. So, what was everyone's initial thoughts on this episode?
Compared to last week's, I actually preferred last week's rather than the week prior to that. But that's just my own opinion.
Smug Shy is best Fluttershy.
Yeah, I will admit, Fluttershy easily won face to the episode just several times over. So,
As usual.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this episode. It was nice seeing another new location, and again having another episode with it being a map episode, just having two ponies that we don't necessarily see interacting individually, together, outside of the group that much. Really, the only other episode I can think of where we saw Applejack and Fluttershy and Prominent Roles was Bats back in season 4. And even that was a little different given the context of that episode. So it was nice having an episode with them two. I thought it was written really well. It was enjoyable. Had some nice twists at the end. Well, overall, it was a really enjoyable episode to watch.
We at least now know why they've not been to Las Pegasus too many times because, well, from the sounds of it, not many seem to like it. This is a tourist trap.
Well, pretty much, yeah. Just like IRL. It's funny though. Kind of getting into the story and the writing here. Then we'll kind of go in there. It's Las Pegasus is definitely shown to be a lot more of a it's almost like a giant Dave and Buster's or something like that in this. Obviously, it was kind of funny watching them because it trying to shoehorn, not shoehorn, but trying to put Las Vegas into what's essentially a kids show is kind of a funny thing, funny thing to try and do. So that they made it more like one big arcade or amusement park. To kind of make it fit more into that family friendly thing. Although they do mention partying all night quite a bit, which is pretty funny.
That's just every day for Pinkie Pie, though.
That's the only reason Mr. Ben will not go back to Dave and Buster's is because they stopped serving potato skins.
Funny enough, after we get the Las Vegas Berry episode, we get a hangover. We get a hangover wherever it's the next episode too. So that can also be written off as the result of partying all night.
There's no quite not a party like a Starlight Party.
There ain't no party like a Starlight Party because the Starlight Party is absolutely mandatory. She'll frickin' brainwash you into it.
Party or else. Sounds like something Pinkie Pie would say, actually. So, this episode was written by Kevin Burke and Chris Dock Wyatt, who had previously wrote the Times Are a Changeling episode a few episodes ago this season, as well as Mike Vogel got another story credit on this episode. So another credit for him for story, which is crazy because that's like he's had at least 5 episodes, I think, where he's gotten a story credit.
This is going to be remembered as the Vogel season.
Season Vogel.
Sounds like a planet from Star Trek. The planet Vogel.
I was really happy again to see another map episode, and it seems by the looks of it now, given this episode, we're on track to have they're doing the exact same thing as last season, where we're going to have 3 map episodes with 2 of the main 6 per episode. So this season it appears we're getting that same exact thing, but just with different combinations. So we already had the episode earlier in the season with Rarity and Pinkie Pie getting called by the map to Canterlot. And so now we have Fluttershy and Applejack, so assuming we'll have an episode sometime this season then with Twilight and Rainbow Dash then, which is nice because those are completely different combinations from the map episodes we had last season, where we had Twilight and Fluttershy, Applejack and Rarity, and Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash. So again, it's nice having these episodes with just the 2 character combinations that we may not see that often, and kind of switching them up and getting nice character interactions that we don't usually see otherwise.
It's funny that I was saying to Rain that before the episode even aired, we were both going to say, we're both just going to say it's best episode because
it's already best episode. Yeah, it's already best episode. Didn't even have to watch it. I think even more than just the map finally, getting another episode, we actually get like another like legitimate Explore Equestria themed episode, because we've never been to or seen Lost Pegasus before, so it isn't like we're just going to see a different part of Manhattan or Canterlot like we've had in some of the past episodes this season. We're actually getting to explore a little further west, I guess you could say, in Equestria, and explore a completely new city, which was also one of my favorite things about this episode. Just again seeing that world building and expanding upon the Equestria.
I also do have to admit that unlike what we've seen previously with like certain characters who've seen the error of their ways, I do like how they actually take the episode's theme and moral and just basically turns it totally on its head. We actually got a pair of characters who we haven't seen in a while, who are basically known for being dicks, and unlike other characters who have basically decided that, okay, we're gonna stop being dicks, these 2 characters have decided that, hell no, we ain't turning over a new leaf at all. And I have to admit that for everything about this episode, that, I mean, it was a decent episode all said and done. And like I said, while I still feel there are certain episodes that are better, this episode here, at least through that whole redemption thing, totally in the face of everything. And I still have to admit that is probably one of the things that I find probably the most hilarious out of all of this. So at least there is one thing that is kind of something I will applaud, is that they do decide that, okay, we're just going to go ahead and just say to fuck the status quo, or at least fuck changing that up. We're going to keep the way the things are.
Another thing I really liked about the episode was having Gladmane pretty much know and recognize who AJ and Fluttershy are, as well as Twilight. Saying, "Oh, of course I know all about the Princess of Friendship and her cohorts," and he actually knew their name, even though it wasn't. I don't think that he knew that they were coming at all. So it's nice to see kind of their prominence in Equestria recognized more in the series.
Well, of course he'd know who Fluttershy was. Everyone knows who Fluttershy was. She was a famous model, remember?
We actually got to see more of that this episode, too. Or using her modeling talents.
Don't you mean using her amazing disguise talents? They're so good.
No one could ever recognize that was Fluttershy.
Hey, at least she was found out. That kind of bothers me in like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So put them in a trench.
No one will ever recognize them with their weird skin and faces.
It's like the Clark Kent and Superman thing. Just put some glasses on, no one will ever know.
We've had enough Flim Flam Brothers songs, Technotron. I am a little surprised there wasn't one, but at the same time. Gladmane reminded me more of he was kind of like Gideon's father from Gravity Falls, mixed in with a little bit more extra Elvis.
Basically, he was basically like Elvis if he was like Elvis's manager than Elvis himself.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the benefits of having all of these new these new writers to the season is they're really giving them a lot of episodes where we have either new locations or new characters as well to write for, which brings a nice kind of outside, new, fresh perspective to the show for a lot of these new things. So they're not just coming in necessarily and writing, existing locations or characters, but helping to continue to build the world out. So we have a lot more hands working on that world building and location building. I think just like a lot of the past map episodes that we've had, they did a really good job of picking the right two ponies for the story. I mean, I don't know how if they decide the characters they're going to have in it first and then write the story around it, or come up with a story and say, oh, this will work good as a map episode with these characters, whatever. But I just really liked, again, how in this episode we get a nice use of the characters for the story that was written. So it just makes sense that AJ and Fluttershy would be the ones that would go there. And it's funny at first because you just like they kind of lampshade at the cold open for the episode. It's kind of like the last two ponies of the main six that you would expect to want to go to a place like Las Pegasus or be able to help with anything there, with Applejack and especially Fluttershy as well. But we get there and it's revealed, and they pretty much touch on this right at the end of the episode and say it, so you don't even have to try and look into it because they pretty much tell you at the end of the episode. But it's nice to see how each of their personalities and their histories played in to the events that led through the episode. So, if it wasn't for Applejack's past with Flim and Flam there, she wouldn't have gone looking for the additional friendship problems out there. Because they would just be like, oh, Flim and Flam are having friendship problems, to try to help them. But no, she didn't want to help them at all. She didn't think that was the problem. So she went around and looked for other friendship problems, and that's when she realized that like all of these people in the all these productions, different parts of the casino, were having these friendship problems, and then that's how they were then able to trace it back to Gladmane instead of just it being a singular friendship issue. And then if it wasn't for Fluttershy's way with animals, we would have never found out the truth about what's happening, because none of the performers there or employees were able to or willing to admit kind of what was going on and what was happening. So it took Fluttershy talking to the animals there as to figure out what was actually going on with Gladmane. And like Fluttershy mentioned, or Applejack mentions at the end of the episode, if it wasn't for Fluttershy's ability to show even Flim and Flam a little bit of kindness, they would never have been able to utilize them, or never would have utilized them, to trick Gladmane in the end. And of course it was very paramount that they help, because I don't think Fluttershy and Applejack on their own necessarily would have been able to pull off that con without having the con masters of Flim and Flam be able to do that double con in the end.
I just like the idea of Josh Haber and Megan McCarthy setting up a dartboard, getting all the writers together, throwing 2 darts at the board and going, there, write a map episode between those 2 characters. Go, go, go.
You never know. It could be. That would actually be a pretty fun thing to do, Be a little, nice little writing challenge. But yeah, you gotta appreciate Mike and Chris and Kevin and their writing of this, just being able to put all those like characters, personalities, and pasts with Flim and Flam together and weave the whole story and the whole plot, throughout the entirety of the episode together with them.
The episode's going to have one of my favourite scenes, though, a contented Fluttershy with animals all around her. And then Applejack being a spoil sport saying, come on, we've got to do proper friendship problems. Damn, Applejack, stop being the sensible one.
Yeah, because Applejack needs to know that Fluttershy needs to get off her butt and actually do some work for once. It's like it's playing with animals all day.
To be fair, I think animals is considerably harder work than just ploughing a field.
Oh. Shots fired.
And lose the field.
Depends on what type of field you're plowing. Oh!
Oh my god.
I'll see myself to the door.
Well, let me. I think I can one up that. Basically, what would you rather do? Look after a farm or look after Angel?
I don't know, the farm has some pretty pesky critters on it too. I'm sure Angel comes over there and steals carrots. That little bitch. Another really thing I liked about the writing and the storyline of the episode is the ending and conclusion of it. I like that Gladmane kind of at first realized the con that they were pulling off, all along, and blew the lid off of it when they were trying to call him out with floating the mic over his head, and he just said he just echoed his his whole fake friendship thing to do it during it, and knew that it was Fluttershy all along. So it was kind of a nice little twist that you think they're gonna do it here, but nope, he knew it all along. And then after that, having them do this kind of double con on him and get him to gloat over that later over the loudspeaker was just another twist that I really didn't see coming, and it was really fun to have. So no, Gladmane wouldn't fall for the whole Superman or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles costume thing.
But he would fall for his own hubris.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was a very, I wouldn't call him necessarily a villain, more just an antagonist, but I thought he was a very subtle, very clever antagonist for this story.
Mhm. Yeah, it was kind of obvious. I think in the beginning that Gladmane was probably going to be a little too good to be true and wind up being the villain of it. But I love what they actually had him doing in the end in terms of being extra friendly with everyone, but then using that to his advantage to kind of turn his performers and other employees against each other in order to kind of keep them in check and keep himself, in power over them and keep them at his casino and not go other places. So it was
He's
a nice,
basically acting like every kind of businessman or woman that's out there, really.
very
pretty much.
very realistic. Con men are hard to trick unless they're being tricked by another con man or con men in this case. I really like the idea of magical aerobatics. You doing the aerobatics and then doing magic tricks at the same time. It's a pretty cool idea. I'd like to see that. Swing at the trapeze and just pull a rabbit out of the hat.
What are the next? Are we playing card games and motorcycles next?
I'd watch it. Maybe it's his first name, Mr. Ben. Richard Gladmane.
Yeah, that could work.
It sounds like a legitimate name.
Well, either way, if he really is, I mean, if that is indeed his first name, I mean, we could literally say that he is indeed truly a dick.
Here we go, fan canon right there.
In more ways than one. But
Don't put him in your mouth.
Let's see. Anything else for story discussion? Or writing or anything else that anyone has with that? Let's see. Oop. That was weird. I don't know why that happened. Okay. I keep going to the wrong thing here. There we go. Well, let's move on to the character discussion here and talk about the characters and characterization in this episode. I'll be right back. I gotta run and get something real quick. But please discuss.
alrighty, well, let's. Who should we talk about first then? Well, don't everyone all speak up all at once. And apparently, we have a bit of a. Someone triggered the kick script, complete without meaning to, apparently.
What? Oh. Trappy? What?
It's because there's a.
Oh. I see.
Dun, 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 dun.
Is that me?
No, it was Rain Shadows. Well, I suppose since no one's bringing up any possible suggestions here, I suppose we can go ahead and start talking about Fluttershy, since she's the first one to come to mind.
She'd always be the first one to come to mind for Matt.
Well, considering how Rain's not currently available, and I know that he would be the one to first, suggest AJ.
It's interesting with Fluttershy. It's a real sort of shows how much she's kind of developed this season, that she's willing to sort of stand up to AJ and say, look, I think you're wrong here to be so antagonistic towards Flim Flam. Yes, they've wronged you in the past, and yes, they are basically a pair of dicks, but you've got to there's more to this than just helping them. There's helping a lot of other ponies as well in this situation, and I think they do that quite well. And what I like is that AJ actually listens to Fluttershy here, because that is one issue I have had in the this is sort of going quite a far way back in the past, but there are a lot of scenes when sort of Fluttershy is sort of so meek and so quiet and so in the corner that she barely gets a look in sometimes, or she barely gets her opinion and her thoughts heard.
So yeah, and I do have to admit that despite their differences, Applejack and Fluttershy actually make a surprisingly good team, even though they didn't quite work together right at the very beginning of the episode, since Applejack was just simply so convinced that Flim and Flan just weren't the ones that needed to be helped. But it was Fluttershy's persistence that she was like, hey, I really think that that this is really not just one specific issue, that maybe these instances are all connected, that they in fact that they were.
I'm back.
Hey, and again, it's nice seeing Fluttershy's unique talent come into play again.
Fluttershy was to inject her with a bit more sass. But yeah, I think one of the best things they did was inject her with, I think really it sort of started from around Castlemania. They just made her a little bit more sassy, and it's just made her a lot more. I just love how smug she looks when she's found out to be right. It's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, bitch.
Let's say, yeah, and I have to agree with Draconicus Media here in the chat room that, hey, she was the one to actually sort of be the one to push the button to cause Gladmane to broadcast his public confession out there. And she does this all with all this adorable little smile on her face.
Got you.
So yeah, I could easily see her as becoming like a sort of beginning one of those, whatchamacallit, one of those deceptive characters, as in like you never think that behind that shy, adorable facade lies a criminal mastermind.
It's always the quiet ones. I did like how they had the whole kind of had Fluttershy as part of the con, is playing dressed up as some dressed up as I don't know if it's like a really famous pony or something like that, but
it was Impossibly Rich,
Impossibly.
Grand Matriarch.
That name is so great. But it's kind of a nice little subtle like callback and continuation of her modeling kind of thing, because it makes it more real. Like, you can believe that she could be doing that. It isn't like you see her doing that and it's like, well, Fluttershy would never do that, or she's really out of her league here and playing this part. But it makes it more believable, being that we've seen her in that sort of similar thing in the modeling episode all those seasons ago. So she's kind of building upon that.
On level of richness, does impossibly rich make you richer than filthy rich?
I would say yes. I would think I'm possibly, yeah. In my mind, that would be a lot more rich than filthy. And then above that would probably be outrageously rich.
You'd need rarity to be doing that.
What about another one, infinitely rich?
That's just Princess Celestia.
That sounds like a fantastic like dessert name.
Exactly, that's what it'd be, Celestia, because you'd just think it was cake.
Also nice that they ended up making Fluttershy being the shifty one, since they used Fluttershy's animal speaking abilities to good use. You're having her being the one spying and finding out the information about Gladme. So they basically made Fluttershy by having ultimate spy techniques due to her animal talking powers.
So what we've basically learned is Applejack is the kingpin and Fluttershy is a heavy.
I really liked in this episode. I really liked Flim and Flam and their characterization and their use in this episode. It was a lot different than what we've kind of seen in their past episodes. So it was nice seeing them, different sides of them, and seeing them still be willing to help and arguing with each other. We got just a lot more character out of them than in the past episodes where they were just kind of conniving assholes. Trying to just con people out. We see a lot more of them personally in this episode and their relationship with each other. And like it was mentioned before, it was really great at the end of the episode that there was nothing in the episode that caused them to change or anything. They were just kind of helping them out for their own benefit. And at the end, they pretty much just go back to their old ways at the end of trying to being a little sleazy and conny at the end when they kind of take over the casino there. So it's nice that they didn't suddenly change their demeanor or anything just because they helped out in this episode. So there would be really no reason for them to. So it was nice that they put that in at the end.
So what you're basically saying is, congratulations, Applejack and Fluttershy. You replaced one asshole with two.
Hey, at least they aren't trying to put fake friends together.
No, but they're probably going to try and slip a few more bits out of your eye.
It's all part of the fun. At least they're being conny. Yeah, the whole thing with Flim Flam just kind of made sense. It made sense that they would be there, trying to work there. Maybe after kind of getting shot down multiple times by Applejack, working on their own, and in the past few seasons here. So they're kind of they're still trying to do their little con artist thing, working at the casino. That line of role fits in with them really well. But at the same time, then their use in the episode in terms of requiring them to actually out-con the master con artist that is Gladmane here was also really fitting. So I guess they were just perfectly fit for this episode, just like AJ and Fluttershy were. And once again, we all know that Twilight is thinking, "Where the fuck is my map episode?" just like last season, it seems that she'll be getting the last map episode of the season.
I wonder if in future seasons Starlight will get map episodes.
It kind of depends. That would obviously require some changes to the whole cutie map thing because she's not actually part of that. I doubt it, at least not in the way that we have, because it seems to me that that Twilight wants her to create her own group of friends rather than joining the main six. So it isn't like going to be Sunset in terms of in Equestria Girls, where she kind of joins the rest of the group and becomes a seventh member. Here it seems that she wants Starlight to go out and create her own group of friends, at least according to what she said in the season 5 finale.
Starlight just goes, "Fuck you, bitch! I'll have my own cutie Mac with blackjack and hookers."
Actually, forget the cutie map. It's a dumb idea anyway.
Forget the blackjack as well.
There we go.
Bring on the hookers.
Yep, another sunset difference as we discussed yesterday. I'm sure Celestia found it, Las Pegasus.
No, I think Luna found it on a drunken night out.
Can I say how much I appreciate the horribly awesome punny names of the locations in the Equestria?
They're still not as punny as the squid puns in Squid Girl, though.
Those puns are a little fishy.
Oh, God. Thought you'd know better, Rain.
I don't know nothing. It's kind of funny. They Flim and Flam have been appearing at like a very set interval too. They appeared in season 2, and then again in season 4, and now in season 6. They seem to be very attracted to the even number seasons.
And before they show up in season 7 and just totally ruin the whole thing.
Yeah, they're kind of fun, and that's one of the things I really liked about the season 5 finale, when we're kind of going through all those kind of alternate dimensions of what could happen as Starlight is changing time, and we get to that one where it's just Flim and Flam, because that was so funny, because it was, I know a lot of people for some reason took that really seriously when it was obviously kind of meant as a joke, just how ridiculous it is that they've taken over. Flim and Flam took over the world at some point. I really like that.
Massive con on everyone.
They conned the entire world. But I really like that, because like what Tim said, I mean, they're just kind of fun, recurring antagonists. They're not totally evil or anything. Just kind of slimy dicks. I do. I've always liked how they play off each other too, and we kind of see that in a different sense in this episode when they're turned against each other. Because in the past 2 ones they've been so in sync and and playing off each other, but here we can see the opposite of that, where they're actively playing against each other in everything they say. And this episode also kind of gave them a little more individual personality, I guess you could say, like explicitly. I forget the exact quote, but Gladmain said one of them was really good with the business end of it and the financial end, and the other one was more good at smooth talking or something like that. I forget the exact quote. You'd have to look it up, but they kind of gave them each their own individual personality of what they're good at, and how those two things combined can make them super effective in terms of conning others.
I can look that up here real fast. Where's the transcript? Okay, yep. Flim's such a show pony, and Flam has such a head for business.
Yeah.
Why, if they ever did work together, they'd be running this place in 2 shakes.
Only 2 though, not 3. Because then you're playing with yourself.
Just remember, after you play with yourself, don't put it in your mouth.
Oh, God. That's quite the talent.
You could even have a cutie mark for that.
Oh, God. we need to. I need to edit that scene with Apple Bloom. Like either one of the scenes, either the one with the cutie pox or the one where she has the cutie mark winking at her, and edit one of those scenes to include your penis fan on her flank.
No, I was thinking that you could, instead of having her own face winking at her, have dick butt winking at her instead.
I'd be surprised if that didn't already exist. But yeah, but besides Flim and Flam, we've already talked a lot about AJ and Fluttershy, but I guess like we said in the story part, that both of them were just so well represented in this episode in terms of their pasts, like AJ's past with Flim and Flam, and her just not being able to forgive them or even try and help them, and then Fluttershy's just kind of more kind, forgiving nature, and her ability to talk with animals. I mean, everything is played so well into the story. Does anyone else have anything else to add for the character discussion, or any other? Don't really think there's many other characters.
Talking about the other performers, but really and truthfully, they didn't massively stick out to me. A bit of stereotyping, but not too much.
Well, most of them were kind of parodies.
I didn't really have any issue with them. Yeah.
But
yeah. Have an issue with it.
I mean, obviously, they didn't give them any development outside of what was required for the story to show why they're all at each other's throats.
Well,
they left most of that to Flim and Flam.
Yeah, the key was Gladmane, obviously, because of all of what was going on.
To say, yeah, the genre-blending trapeze artist and her costume aren't really evocative of anyone in particular, but they are modeled after Cirque du Soleil artists, aerialists. The pair of ponies with the pink prairie dogs, however, they're obviously based off of Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they... Obviously, they're Siegfried and Roy, and the other ones are just more generic, kind of homage, parody, whatever, of like you said, Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah. There were also, if you looked upon the background ponies, there were apparently pony versions of Penn and Teller.
Mm-hmm.
And the Gordon Ramsay stallion also made a reappearance as well.
Yep, there's a lot of stuff in the back of these episodes.
Like the poster that was a parody of the Britney Spears one that's currently she's currently going to be doing a some kind of, what's it called when you're when they're performing for a amount of time. I can't remember what they call that now, but yeah, she's performing at a certain venue for over a period of time.
So, yeah, the art for Britney Spears' Vegas show and the Chris Angel Mind Freak live show as well, if I'm not mistaken.
But no Celine Dion pony.
Let's see. Well, let's go ahead, because I think we're about done with the character discussion. Let's do the voice acting. What does everyone think about the voice acting in the episode?
Let's see what we got here. Who did Gladmane? That was Jim Barnes. He was the one who voiced Gladmane. And I have to admit, I do really much like the inflection that he gave Gladmane. That sort of, obviously, it's kind of like the parody pastiche of Elvis, but he wasn't just Elvis, but he was also had some elements of Tom Parker, who was Elvis's manager, who ruthlessly pursued financial gain, even at his client's expense. And you'll also notice that his overall appearance there, with the sparkling cape and the sort of coat there, also has elements of Liberace as well.
Yeah, very much an Elvis-y look of voice, and like I said, it's very, very similar to that the voice of Gideon's father and in Gravity Falls. The same kind of tone and inflection that he has, sort of like that almost sort of like religious, like snake oil kind of seller, like stereotypical seller kind of voice.
I almost kind of want Gladman to just start screaming out, "I'll get you, Stan Pines!"
I'll get you, Applejack, and your adorable yellow pony friend too.
Huh. Yeah, quite a few.
It's interesting. We're talking. Sorry.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it's interesting that we mainly now talk about the new characters, because when it comes to like the main six, is there ever really a time when any of the voice actors, or the core voice actors, the sort of the main, the main ones that are sort of been there since sort of day one, Tara Strong, Tabitha St. Germain, Ashley Ball, Andrea Libman, Kathy Weslock. Has there ever been a time where even if we've not necessarily for stories all that right, or the writing or whatever, but they've always knocked out of the park with their voice acting. I don't think there's ever been
You are breaking up like really bad.
It's funny because I can understand everything he's saying. It's just really slowed down. It's kind of funny. I pretty much got what Matt was saying though. Is it's obviously the main six, they've been on the show for so long. Are they ever really going to have any sort of bad things? And really, I mean, that's not. Yeah, usually not. But at the same time, only reason I kind of ask is a lot of times they still have their times to shine, and things that we can point out that are really they do really well in a particular episode.
Thanks, App, for just closing the call on me for no particular reason. That was fun.
It was funny because like it was weird because you must have been losing connection or something, but instead of just going in and out, it just slowed your voice down. So we could still understand you, but it sounded like you were on some sort of drug.
You also sounded kind of robotic too.
That's probably my connection.
It's fine now, though. But I understood what you're saying, though.
Matt.exe is powering down. Just
I'm honestly surprised I'm not asleep yet. I really am.
Quick, he's shutting down. Get him some new batteries.
So we had a couple other newer voice actors on the show on this episode as well. So we have one of the trainers and the stage manager, and I have no idea who Barker is. Apparently Barker is a character in this episode. I'm trying to think of who that could be, because I know who the director is and who the trapeze star is. The two trainers are the Siegfried and Roy parody. Barker.
I'm thinking that's just like a specific, not like a character name, but basically just like a
Barker.
Well, it's kind of like Hustler, if you will. It just someone who like calls out something. I'm probably just grasping for straws here. I have no idea.
Oh no! Here we go. It actually is a legit word. I looked it up in the dictionary. A person who stands in front of a theater, slideshow, etc., and calls out to passerby to attract customers.
And that was what I was referring to. I just couldn't remember right off the top of my head. I knew there was something that was legitimately called a barker. I just couldn't describe it at the time. But there we go.
So he was. That was.
I thought a barker was a dog.
That's what I'm saying. I don't remember a dog in the episode. So one of the trainers, the stage manager, and the barker was voiced by Peter Kellemus, who has done a couple of voice roles last season for this. So he voiced Big Daddy McColt in the Hofields and McColts last season, as well as Fashion Plate in Canterlot Boutique. And then we have the trapeze star was voiced by Zara Durrani. I believe this is her first role in the show here. I think her first voice acting role too, as far as I can see. Of course, then the director and trainer was voiced by Brian Drummond. Of course, he's been on the series for a while here. And yeah, Andrea, as someone mentioned in chat, voiced the rabbit in this episode.
Yeah, we have now the terrifying thought that rabbits can speak. Now I dread the episode where we have Angel speaking.
God. He does.
There won't be enough bleeps throughout the episode.
I was gonna say he does speak in his episodes, but they just have to mute him, or really pitch up his voice really high because the kiddos can't hear the cursing. I think Scott McNeil and Sam Vincent did a great job as Flim and Flam again in this episode again, and hearing their voices and their characters in slightly different lights here, with them arguing each other and being more aggressive than they normally are. They did a good job expanding their characters in that respect. Okay, so let's move on then to the humor in the episode. Discuss the humor. What does everyone think about this episode's humor?
Really not a whole lot that really came to mind this particular episode. Applejack just sort of slowly recognizing Flem's voice comes to mind. And then again, Flim and Flam, obviously, after having had that taste for working for altruistic purposes, do they finally see the error of their ways and resolve to become respectful, law-abiding citizens? Hell no!
No! Instead, they go back to their ways and they con everybody into somehow paying money to go see a show for a stage that has no entertainment whatsoever.
Yep.
Is that kind of a kid callback to Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000, where Applejack just says, "Dear Princess Celestia, I learned nothing at all."
In a way, it could be.
Yeah, I did really like the in terms of what Technotron said in there, that jump cut to Los Pegasus, after Applejack says it can't be allowed, or maybe it's Fluttershy, it can't be a loud, obnoxious party all the time, right? And then the characters themselves, animation wise, just stand in the same exact pose. They stand still, but the background jump cuts, and it was such a great effect that worked so well for that joke.
You're right. It's not as bad as we thought. It's worse.
Oh my God! Yes, the DDR ponies. DDR is canon.
Which is funny because there was actually a pony DDR machine at Buck when I went to Buck a couple of years ago. That was fun. Oh no, sorry, no, it wasn't a DDR machine. It was a karaoke machine.
Oh yeah, were they running My Little Karaoke? I'm assuming.
I'm guessing that's what it was.
Yeah, there was a late pop sound there, and when that popped over. How about I know Matt probably liked this one when Fluttershy was just going absolutely crazy for those animals in the cages. I mean, just because it was almost like Twilight. It was almost like Twilight with books.
You know how you'd make, you know how you'd make Fluttershy your friend for life. Just buy her a petting zoo.
Isn't that what she already has? Buy her another one.
More or less.
Stream DDR.
Yeah, what I've wanted to do is I wanted to set up a webcam and the dance pad in my room, and be able to stream DDR from either like my PlayStation or my Nintendo Wii with the Dance Dance Mario mix.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is I simply just don't have enough room in my room because I just bed's in the way and everything, and I don't really have a proper spot to set everything up, or optimally. But once I eventually get like my new computer and maybe like a new capture card for my stuff, I may look into like replacing my bed and freeing up some space and actually streaming myself doing that, because I really wouldn't want to deprive the internet of watching a 400-pound fat man just make a fool of himself on.
Oh, I'm sure we'd all love to watch.
So.
I have DDR. So I have a DDR for my PS2. I haven't played that for probably a decade. I think I still have the pad somewhere.
I mean, I could, if I really wanted to, just stream the game and play it through like the controller, but that's just not how the game's meant to be played.
If I want to play DDR on the D-pad, I'd fucking play DDR on the D-pad. I believe that's a JonTron quote. Another really humorous line that I remember was Apple at the end where Gladmane is running away and Applejack says Gladmane has left the building. Nice little reference there.
Speaking of references, this isn't really humorous, but the way that they took down the Gladmane statue is kind of similar how they took down the Saddam Hussein statue.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of like the trope that they had there with pulling down the emperor's statue or whatever.
Yeah.
Or the tyrant's statue, I guess I should say. Yeah, I think moving on to animation and visuals. I mean, I was really impressed with the animation of this episode. I mean, just all of the amazing design work. You really have to step back and appreciate like all the amazing design work that went into creating Lost Pegasus, because this is the first time we've really seen this area. So all of these assets and backgrounds had to be created from scratch. And it has its own unique style to it, and its own unique background ponies, and just beautiful backgrounds. I mean, really, let's go through the episode and just look at some of the backgrounds from like the outside view and the inside of the casino, or whatever you want to call it. Just some really great well designed stuff there that they really had to produce a lot of, because this isn't just us going back to Canterlot or us going back to Manhattan, where we can reuse at the very least some of the same style of the city. I mean, here it is, they had to completely create all this, so there had to be a lot of work that went in to the visuals. And on the topic of the background ponies, like I said, most of the background ponies here are completely new designs, and they fit really well either with the whole Vegas theme or with like the very touristy theme. But we do see a couple reoccurring characters. We see the tourist ponies from I always forget the name of the freaking episode. The one with the Indian restaurant food in Canterlot. I always forget that episode's name. I remember the song's name really easily, but the episode. But we saw the tourist ponies that came into the restaurant there, on their own from that episode. We see them again here, and it Spice Up Your Life. Thank you. I should remember that too, because that's a freaking Spice Girls song. But we see them again. We see the food vendor from Stranger Than Fan Fiction. The one that was manning the food stall in that episode. We see her here again. She looks just as uninterested and completely bored as she did in that episode. And it really pissed me off, because I saw some people online that were ragging on the show staff for being lazy for using her again, which I think is the most ridiculous claim ever for this episode. When it's like, how can you be so short-sighted and not see like all of the other design work that went into all the other background ponies and all the other backgrounds and locations in this episode, and call them out because they reused this one pony, which was probably reused as kind of an inside, a subtle joke that she's doing the same exact thing here and the same exact job for it. I don't know, that kind of pissed me off a little bit. I believe Mr. Ben said earlier that we saw the Gordon Ramsay pony. I actually didn't see that until I rewatched the episode today. But he was there again in the restaurant scene. I believe he was also from Spice Up Your Life as well, where we saw him last. And we mentioned this before as well, but just all of the posters, all the parody posters on the wall were just really well designed. They look really cool. They looked a lot like the posters they were parodying. They did a really great job, great job on those. And there's a lot in the background that just are there for just a few seconds, and you blink and you miss. And I really have to give credit to the animators and storyboard artists for Applejack's reaction when she first hears Flim and Flam's voice. Just the slow, subtle changes in her expressions as she realized who she's hearing was just hilarious and very, very well done from an animation standpoint. And there's a lot of great faces in the episode too, like all of Applejack's angry faces, especially when she first encounters Flim and Flam in the episode, and she's like doing that, like puffing up her lower lip and stuff. And I forgot to write that down. Draconis Media. I'm glad you pointed that out. So we see what's his face from last season. From the Magic Inside episode, whatever that was called. I'm really good at remember song names, but not so much episode names. Sven Gallop. Yeah, that's what it was. That name came to my mind. Yeah, we see him in the background of this episode looking very depressed. I guess he hasn't been doing too well off after he lost Countess Coloratura. The main attraction. Yeah. I know Matt mentioned this earlier, but just all of the smug shy all throughout the episode. She was just looking so absolutely smug in so many parts. So very, very proud of herself. And so it was very, very cute. Yeah, there's one of the ones Mr. Ben just posted, one of those expressions there in the chat. Derp. There's also another one. Maybe you can find it, Mr. Ben. The one where she has like the really puffed up face, looking at Applejack. I think is that one of the ones?
Applejack's puffed up face?
No. I found it. Let me see if I can. Well, I'll have to just post the link to the tweet, because I in one of our tweets leading up to today's Triple E episode, I I put it on there. So it'd be easier for me to just link to our tweet here, so you can go to that tweet, and then the image I'm talking about is on that tweet there, with that with that very kind of puffy cheeks.
Actually,
smile.
I did post a couple of images, I think, of that nature earlier in the chat room.
Might have, yeah. But that face is too much.
Yeah. In fact, I believe I posted an image with the caption, "You mad?"
I also have to really give a lot of credit for the animation on Fluttershy's hair when she takes off the wig in that one scene, because it gets it's all bunched up in there, and they have it all flow back down into its normal state. And that was just really, really well done. It looked really, really well when it in the anime when you're watching it. And her disguise was great too. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there's the vendor pony there. Still just not having this shit.
Complete with Parasprite plushies.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot about the Parasprite plushies there. Those things are great. Yep, I mean they definitely still put just a lot of time and love into doing the storyboards and the layout and the animation to all these episodes, and they've definitely put a lot more animators as we've talked about this season. Just the number of animators on the show is a lot more than the first seasons of the show. So yeah, it really shows with what they're able to do, and it's nice that using Flash as a tool. A lot of Toon Boom can do this too, but I think Flash probably does it better in terms of having assets and being able to reuse them and reuse animations on other assets and stuff like that. So a lot of the animation in Flash, is done a lot more like CG animation, but in 2D, since it is technically computer animation. But since it allows them to build up all this backlog of characters and animations and backgrounds and everything like that, it frees them up to have so much time to do more other little things, whether it be a crazy facial expression or some nice animation, here and there, or designing all these new locations. So. Oh yeah, I forgot about that Muppets reference as well. It's a lot of nice references, like very fun, very subtle, very quick, not even really a part of the episode, but just nice in the background references, either with the characters or with the animation or backgrounds. So anything else with the animation or visuals before we move on here?
I can't think of anything in particular.
Okay. Well, let me get to the next thing here. Whoops. Okay, so let's talk about the score and the backing music for the episode. So, with this episode, we have a lot of really nice big band style very Vegas-y music throughout parts of the episode. Unfortunately, a lot of the music is really, really in the background because they put it into the world. It's not necessarily like we're hearing it like we normally do in an episode where it's backing music. Here, a lot of the music throughout the episode is actually music that is taking place in world. Like you would have in the background, walking through a casino, you might have this big band music playing over the loudspeakers, or in the dining hall, you have the the more classy music. So a lot of times, the way it's mixed, it's very soft in here because they're giving it that feel of it's actually in the universe and not just something we're putting behind here. So unfortunately, it made it a lot harder to extract, and he really had to boost up the music to really hear it that much. It's really disappointing. I was really hoping that the Vegas, the very Vegas-y theme that they have in this would actually be during the credits. Unfortunately, they didn't put it there. I would have liked to have a lot cleaner version because it's some really nice Vegas music here. And we also hear Gladmane gets his own little motif, which is another track that we've heard previous in the season, and Flim and Flam's themes come back as well for them. So let's see. We'll start here. Let me see if I can. Oops, let's mute that. Let me see if I can pull this playlist up here. Viva Los Pegasus. So another thing this episode is that I forgot to mention is this, of course, is a map episode. So we do hear a few of the map motifs in the episode, but not as many as usual. This episode has a little quicker start than a lot of the map episodes. Usually the map episodes, we have a scene in the cold open of the ponies that are going to be getting called, doing whatever they're doing, and then their butts flash, and they go and run off to Twilight's castle, and then after the opener we have the introduction where we're explaining what we're doing and where we're going, and then we have a scene of them traveling there, and then we actually get there. And each of those parts usually has its own little score that goes with it that we hear repeated. This episode gets more directly to the point and allows the rest of the episode a little more time, so we start the episode in the cold open with them already at the castle, already have been called, and Twilight's explaining where they're going to go, and we don't even get a scene of them traveling there because we have that little jump cut right to there. So we get all of that setup done right in the opener, so we don't have quite as much time here for the themes that we normally see in the map episodes. We do hear the one at the end, though, however, which we'll get to when we get there. But anyway, the episode begins here very quickly at the beginning with Applejack and Fluttershy getting called here. We have a little alternate opening of the series' Magic Friendship motif here. And the version of it here was last heard at the Maud Pie track. Everybody Loves Pinky. It's a little alternate version of it here. And then at the end of the track here, when we do that jump cut to Lost Pegasus here, we get the very Vegas sounding big band music that we'll hear later in the episode as well. Very, very short version of it here at the beginning. So here's the first track. This is also a theme that we hear a lot in the series right here. There's the Magic of Friendship motif. And so we get that very quick stinger at the end there with the big band, loud Lost Pegasus music there. So from there we get through the episode's opening titles, and we go back to Fluttershy and Applejack walking through Gladmane's casino. From here we have some more big band score heard here. This composition in this track is much slower in tempo than the one we heard in the opener. It's not that big flashy one. This is a lot more like more of the background music that you would hear actually like in a casino potentially. It has a lot more like of a swing. I guess you could say this is a lot more of a swing feel to it in terms of the musical styling of it. So it's really great. I just love hearing these other styles of music in the show that we haven't heard before after all these seasons. And just like Daniel Ingram, William Anderson always just gets the feel of them just right. So here's that music here. Another very short track here for this scene. So that was I really like that track. Fortunately, that's one of the ones that is again kind of in the background in universe, so it was very, very soft. You could almost barely hear it in the episode. So I had to really go through and do a lot of audio manipulation on that to really bring that out to the front and really boost the sound, especially with all the very loud sound effects around it. As one of the reasons I really hope this one or the other theme would be in the credits, just because you would be able to hear it a lot clearer. But yeah, it's really, really well done. It really hits the nail on the head for the very, the Vegas style of music you would normally hear in places like this. That very swingy big band feel that is very classic to those locations here in the real world. From there, we are introduced to Gladmane, and he has his own motif for the episode. This motif, you'll actually recognize from this season before. It was used in The Times They Are a Changeling, in the track Friends with a Changeling. It was kind of in that episode used for Spike kind of being his little trying to be a little smooth and suave in that episode for that track. But here that theme is brought back here specifically for Gladmane, and we hear it throughout this episode for him. So here's that. Here's his theme, I believe, right after this little flourish here. There's a little bit of his theme there again.
Yeah. I need to pull out now. I'll see you guys later. I gotta go to choir tonight.
Alright, later.
Oh. What was that? Sorry, I couldn't hear over the music.
Jay had to step out because he needed to go to choir.
Oh, okay. See ya, Jay. Oops. Give me 1 second. Okay, so the next track here was when we were introduced to Flim and Flam again in the episode. So they make their return to MLP after being absent last season, and they bring with them all their themes back. So in this track here, when we first see them, we hear their very upbeat ragtime motif, which we've heard in their previous episodes when they're doing their cons. Or you like the xylophone and the wood block in that track. Really sounds like something that you would hear played on a player piano in the old timey days. But it's some really nice ragtime music for them here. Then when they start arguing here in the next scene, we have a piano motif from their previous episodes too. This is a little bit more of like one of their conniving, scheming themes, I believe here. Yeah, that's what it was. I had to remember what it was. Yeah, yes, this is a little piano motif of them that we hear again in their episodes in the past when they're being a little more direct and with someone and their lies and their cons. Okay, that's their thing. Then I'm gonna queue up this next one because it's really short, so I gotta queue it up before I do that. The next one is we get a little stinger coming back from one of the commercial breaks where Applejack and Fluttershy are again wandering around the casino floor. So here we have the very upbeat big band score that we had at the cold open of the episode that we heard at the beginning there. We hear that makes come back here. This one's a little bit longer, and by a little bit longer, I mean instead of 5 seconds, it's 10 seconds. This one has a nice little kind of improvised finish at the end to it here. Again, just really fitting to the setting of where we are in this episode, and really well pulled off in terms of its sound and its instrumentation. I guess it really hits the nail on the head in terms of the style it's going for there. And I can only wish a lot of these things were longer because they're really enjoyable to listen to, but a little short. Let's see. Trying to see what the next track here. Oh yeah, so the next track here is from the dinner scene where or I don't know if it's dinner or whatever. When Fluttershy and Applejack are sitting down for a meal in the restaurant there to discuss kind of the situation thus far. So in the background of the scene, they're accompanied with this really lovely kind of elevator style of music. This was another one that was very hard to extract because this is more music that's actually placed into the world. It's actually playing in world. It's not just for us to hear for the episode like backing music normally is. This is actually playing in the scene. So just like the one previously, it was really soft, and it was really mainly in the center channel, which you can't really use because that's also where all the characters are. That's where the dialogue is discussing. So if you don't know kind of the whole thing of music extraction from MLP, it's you have to use the 5.1 surround sound version that you can get off of iTunes for it. And for most things that are 5.1, they're and MLP included, they're mapped where the center channel is where all the main stuff's going to be. So the dialogue, the sound effects are all going to be in the center channel. Then you have the left and right stereo front channels. From there, you'll have the backing music will be in there, as well as additional ambient sounds. And if a character or a sound effect is ever taking place or either the left side, more to the left side of the frame or the right side of the frame or off screen, the character's voice or the sound effect will also be in those channels. Sometimes it'll pan from the center channel over to the right or the left if they're walking for it. And then you got the back and right rear channels. Those will have only usually music and ambient sound effects. Every once in a while, if a character is walking extremely to the side or behind you, or if they're behind the screen, they'll put their voices back there, but it doesn't happen as much often. But unfortunately, the sound in the backing channels is, you can't just take the sound out of that and call it a day because it's really soft, and it's a lot more compressed sounding, so it doesn't sound quite as clear as the music from the front channel, so you kind of have to work your way around all the sound effects and try and mainly use the front channels because it sounds better, but then go to the back channels when you need to. But yeah, like I said, for this one, the music was mainly in the center channel because it was more treated like actually part of the scene. Thankfully, it was still in the side channels, but it was a lot softer, so we really had to boost it up. So you really, because the sound has to be boosted up so much to hear the music here, you can hear a lot of silverware going on very loudly in the background, unfortunately. But here's the music for that scene. It's again, it's kind of like this elevator style music to back a restaurant. So kind of got that little keyboard going on there, and some bongos in the background as well, which is fitting for like a more classy restaurant setting like we're going for here. Next we get more flim flam stuff here. So their shenanigans continue here. We got a couple themes going on here. We first have a cue that we first heard in the season 6 premiere here in the track Sunburst. So this score here was used kind of like that this wacky theme that was used to back Sunburst when he was kind of trying to hide, not really being a successful wizard and kind of stumbling over his words. We hear that at the beginning here, and then after Gladmane interrupts here, which is like in all the channels and couldn't be removed, so you'll hear him yell a little bit here, is we hear their piano motif from earlier, Flim and Flam's piano motif, used again here. And that's another problem that I had with this episode, was especially later on in the episode, anytime that there's anyone speaking over that loudspeaker, whether it be usually Gladmane or anyone else, it echoes and reverberates into all channels, which has a really cool effect if you're listening to the episodes in surround sound, which I highly recommend you do if you're able to. But it does make it so you can't actually remove them all the way, which sucks. Next we get to the part with Impossibly Rich, and throughout this track we'll hear more of Gladmane's motif from earlier in the episode. And now the episode gets to the part where we start to see Gladmane for who he truly is and see more of his villainous nature. And in this track here, we get this very nice, really villain-sounding electric bass score here going on.
Hey there, boss. It's Impossibly Rich. I'm ready for my tour. So what do you want to see me about? Actually, there's something I want you to
money. So finally, we'll go to the final track here at the end of the episode, Friendship and Lost Pegasus, as we conclude here. This episode starts with the one main map motif that has been in every map episode so far, even if we have a kind of truncated beginning and we don't hear all of the motifs from the previous map episodes like in this one. This one we do hear in every map episode. This is the Mission Complete map theme. This is the theme that happens whenever the mission is done and the ponies, kitty marks start glowing again, signifying that the friendship problem is solved. And this is something we've seen all the way back to the first map episode in the beginning of season 5, and something we even saw in the CMC episode, The Fault and our Cutie Marks, a couple episodes ago, when we have the flashback to the Griffinstone episode. And when we hear this theme there too, and we're flashing back and seeing Pinky and Rainbow Dash walking away with their cutie marks glowing, we even get this here. So this is one of this is the map motif that's been in every single map episode. It's just a really short glockenspiel cue for it. And from there, we continue with more orchestral and guitar score. And then as Flim and Flam go right back to their old, con artist ways. We get that ragtime xylophone score that we heard earlier in the episodes here. And again, their voices here at the end are speaking through the loudspeaker, so they can't fully be removed because they just kind of reverberate throughout the scene. So there was the map theme there. And that kind of takes us to the end of the episode there. Unfortunately, like I said, I was really hoping that they would put one of those Vegas themes over the credits so we can get a better quality version of it. Now, unfortunately, we haven't really had any credits music for quite a bit after starting the season off with every episode having it. So, unfortunately, we haven't gotten that. So maybe we'll get some again soon. But that's it for the score. What does everyone think of the episode's theme and moral?
Let's see, theme and moral here. See, basically, I suppose this episode demonstrates the lesser of two evils principle. Flim and Flam may be a pair of greedy con artists, but there can be someone else out there who's, more evil than them, such as, Gladmane. And of course, as such, when one is faced with two evils, it's best to choose the evil that you know is less harmful than the other, even though you're still technically choosing evil. And the problem is that there is also a bit of a more subtle but sad but true lesson nevertheless, in that you can't save everyone. I mean, not everyone is going to, change their ways.
Yep, and I mean, it also has a lot to do with I don't know. There's something in there about working together, and because we see all those other performers where they're fighting and really they're not really going anywhere, and Gladmane's using that to hold them back by having them all being against each other. He knows that he can control them and keep them there longer. But if they were working together instead of trying to fight each other, they are actually able to move on to bigger and better things and try new things out and do all that stuff. So we see all of those performers leave at the end of the episode and hopefully go on to doing new things, better things, and things that they want to do together rather than being stuck in the same situation fighting.
And then, of course, we have the old standard go-to moral: don't be a dick.
Don't be a Richard Gladmane. Yeah, and there's also another more complex thing there about like Tim is saying here about how there can be some people that they might seem very nice, and it might seem like they have your best interest in mind, and they're being friendly, but you got to be careful because there's a lot of people in this world that will act like that, but when in reality they're just manipulating you or using you, and not really truly being friendly, and might be doing stuff behind your back, which is a little bit more of a kind of mature kind of thing to be talking about here, with someone putting on this friendly face, when in fact they're not so friendly at all behind it.
Like I just said in chat, I mean, every rose does have its thorns, so you have to be careful on that.
Some thornier than others.
Yep. Indeed. Some thornier than others, indeed.
Let's see. So, favorite parts and any concerns for the episode?
Excuse me. I suppose probably, in terms of my favorite parts is, again, just the whole twisting of the Aesop of kind of like how it was mentioned earlier back in chat, or when it was like a kind of a twist on the whole Applejack didn't learn anything. It's more like not so much that Flim and Flam don't learn anything. It's more like they're presented with the lesson, and they do learn it, but then they choose not to apply it. It's like they're like, no, it doesn't so much doing it to feel good. They're just like, no, we're not gonna be all buddies with you. Just piss off. We're moving in and we're taking over. GTFO.
My favorite parts are probably just overall the use of character in here. I think they picked the exact right characters for this episode. All the characters just fit into the story so well between Applejack and Fluttershy and the Flim Flam brothers. They all just fit in so well, and great job by the new writers for really understanding those characters and their pasts and emotions and stuff. And I'm sure both Josh Haber and Mike Vogel, who did this help contribute to the story in here, had a lot to do with fleshing all of that out as well. I just think that was just a great job, and they just fit so well into the story and the plot and the resolution in the end. And like Tim said, I gotta love the whole entire kind of double con that they pulled off at the end, because that really did have me go. I was really thinking that they were going to get Gladmane in that scene. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I'm being stupid, but I don't know. I was really thinking that was going to be it. They were going to record him doing that. Lesson over. Blah blah. But when he spurted out that that his whole friendship thing again, I'm just like, oh my god, he knew the entire time. That was actually pretty good. I really wasn't personally expecting that, nor was I expecting the double con at the end. I just thought it was just gonna be one of those things where if he's gonna go on, he's gonna win, but maybe they'll somehow get Flim and Flam to get the other ponies out of there or something. But then they had the whole double con, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, the double con was another great one. I also love just Fluttershy's just darkly innocent expression. It's like, it's not so much she's innocent, it's like she totally knows what she was doing when she was pressing down that broadcast button.
Oh yeah, she knew. And I guess one more thing I really enjoyed about this episode was Ye seeing another new location in the show in Equestria, someplace we haven't been to at all before. And barely even talked about in show. So it's really nice, again, branching out, fleshing out the world a little more this season. Haven't done a lot for season about exploring Equestria. We've gone back to a lot of other places again and explored them more. But it is nice having an episode where we're actually going and exploring a new location here. And of course, having another map episode. I'm glad they're keeping with this map format this season, because I wasn't too sure after last season if it would be coming back. And they even played with that whole thing in the first map episode where they had to get Twilight and Starlight to reactivate it after everything that went down in the season 5 finale. So I'm glad they brought that back, because it really does open up an avenue for telling these great stories in other locations that we might not have gone to before, and pairing up these two characters that we might not see paired up that much. There's not many episodes where we just have 2 of the main 6 in them. It's either focusing on one and maybe some other secondary characters, and maybe the rest of the, and sometimes it's just maybe focusing on one main 6 and the other one is there in some aspect. But here we actually get 2 starring individuals in the main 6, which is not something we got a lot, and it's a nice way to continue to build those characters and build stories even after 6 seasons here. So I'm glad they brought that back.
It's nice to see Applejack actually interacting with Fluttershy on a more personal basis, because we really don't see Applejack and Fluttershy actually interact, just the 2 of them.
Yeah.
all that much to begin with.
And until this season, you know, Rarity and Pinkie Pie, and we had the, you know, the Maud Pie episode at the beginning of the season, and then their map episode here, and we've seen a lot of them interacting with each other this season. We hadn't seen that before.
Yeah. And it's nice to just seeing just the two of them just sort of bounce off of each other and, you know, just sort of kind of react in how they work together.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to see, you know, a little bit more just, you know, what sort of I hate to use the term couples because that kind of just kind of implies romantic, but yeah, I kind of want to know at this point, like, what duos of the main six, of like what team ups we haven't really seen most often, and just kind of explore that from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, we've seen a lot of certain characters together, but really, there's not many episodes before last season where we just had episodes that focused on two characters at all, and so it's just fantastic, and seeing how Fluttershy and Applejack kind of play off each other, with, of course, Applejack being a lot more stubborn, while Fluttershy is a lot more kind and forgiving, and how that worked into the episode was really fun. Team ups, yeah, there you go. It's a lot less shippy there. So then I guess overall feelings and conclusions for Viva Las Pegasus.
It's a pretty good episode. Still, you know, I really wouldn't call it a weaker episode. It definitely has its strengths. It definitely is a very solid episode. Not one of my top 10, but it's overall it's not bad.
It has Applejack 10 out of 10. Yeah. No, I mean I really enjoyed it. Like I pretty much already said everything previously in terms of just getting to see new locations and seeing Fluttershy and Applejack interact. It was really enjoyable. It was nice to see Flim and Flam again and brought back in a slightly different way. So they're still being con artists, but we see them in a little bit more like a positive light and flesh out their characters a little more. I did also really enjoy that about the episode, and so I really liked how it was put together. I think Kevin and Chris really, between this and the Spike episode, the Changeling episode, they've done a really good job this season. Okay. Well, with that, thank you all for coming up to on Wednesday here for this special makeup episode of Equine Episode Examination here for Viva Las Pegasus. Thanks for sticking around through all the pushing this back a couple times, but I'm glad we finally got able to do that and get this out of the way, so we're back on track for the rest of the season. Pretty much already said a lot of this yesterday, but I will say it again. This weekend we have another new MLP episode, PPOV, Pony Point of View. I know that without too much, I won't say exactly what, but I will say that I know this is a kind of episode that I know Mr. Ben and Everlasting Joy had been kind of wanting to happen
yes.
for a while. I won't say what kind of episode it is, not to spoil it for anyone, but it is an episode that I know that they've been looking forward to, this style of episode in the show.
Yes.
So I'm absolutely sure we will have a lot to talk about next Tuesday when we talk about this on Triple E. We'll be talking about 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time here in CinemaQuestria next Tuesday for PPOV, and of course we'll be live chatting that and watching that this weekend at 11:30 a.m. So make sure to stop on by, bring a stream with you, pull it up with us, and I know it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Because reading through the description of it was pretty fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching that there. If it fits, it ships, Technotron. I did read that Rainbow Dash X cross kitchen sink fanfic there, because when I was testing my stream, I had to update my system, so I was just trying to test to make sure everything still worked after the update. I should read more of that later. I only read the first part.
let's say I'd go on and stream for Wildcard Wednesdays, but unfortunately I'm working tonight, and I had to go in early today to for a half day because of event that we were doing. So
Okay. I was going to ask if you wanted to do something. Shoot. Okay. Well,
I'd go on and play some more Minecraft, but no, I need to get back to sleep.
Yeah. Sleep is good. Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We will see you next Tuesday back to our normal time, normal day for Equine Episode Examination as we start to wind down the rest of the season here. Only about 3 weeks left until the big finale. So we'll be coming up on that very quickly, and then again we'll do our season 6 recap episode, and then we'll be talking about Legends of Everfree the week after that on Triple E. And then who knows? I'll probably have a couple other discussion episodes about different topics, and then of course we got to get into season 4 at some time too, and we'll be talking about that during the next hiatus here. And again, just another reminder that this obviously Legends of Everfree releases here in the US officially on Netflix this Saturday, so that should be up on Netflix this Saturday. We're going to be having a little watch through with everyone if you want to come. And on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we will be watching through Legends of Everfree. Just bring your own copy. If you have Netflix, pull it up on there. If you don't have Netflix, I'm sure it'll be other places for you to get very readily, Dailymotion, etc. I'm sure they'll have links to it on like Equestria Daily or something. So if you don't have Netflix, I'm sure you'll be able to get it. I know it's already out there from the Brazilian release. That copy, if you get a copy of that, it'll probably be okay. Although I understand it's not that great of not that great a quality. I'm not sure if there's any edits that they made for the TV. I don't think there's many, but you never know. If you're able to get a copy, make sure to try and get the Netflix copy. You should be able to do that by Sunday. So make sure you get that Sunday. We'll be just have everyone start their videos at the same time, and we'll have a time code on screen in case you lose track of where you are or you show up. Unless you or want to show up late or anything like that. So make sure to join us for that. I'm really looking forward to watching the movie. I've already listened to the soundtrack a lot, like nonstop, since that was released a couple weeks ago. So some really good music in this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the whole thing and the scenes animated. So make sure to stop on by for that on Sunday, and we will see you next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, for Triple E and PPOV.